Tape4, Nicole Holland.
This is tape 4 with Nicole Holland. We're talking about when you arrived in Marseille.
When I met this friend, this acquaintance, and she said that my mother and my father and my two sisters are here too, and they're staying in a hotel. And she said, come on with me. Well, we got this hotel, and there was a bunch of people I knew, in this hotel. I spent one night with them, and I told them, I said, I got to find my sister, Madeleine, and how did I find Madeleine? I don't remember.
What happened after you found Madeleine?
We never talked to each other after that. We didn't. Well, she still was on the Widerman, and I was on the Pirate Nicodème, and I didn't want to hurt her. But this girl, I told this girl, I said, I got to find me a job. And she said, my sister looked in the paper, and there was an ad in the paper. There was a lawyer and his wife, they both were lawyers. They needed somebody to keep their little boy. They did have a maid, but they wanted somebody to keep this little boy. And she said, why don't you go see? And you're going to be interviewed by the grandparents, because they both were working. Those grandparents was Madame Pollack. I didn't never seen Monsieur Pollack, but I seen Madame Pollack was her name. They was Jewish, but from way back French, And so I went to, they'd have a big jewelry store. And Rue du Paradis was the name. I'm never going to forget because it was the main part of Marseille. And not quite, but one of the streets, Main Street. And so I went and I talked to Madame Pollack, and she said, oh, my daughter finds somebody, but she said, I got something for you. She said, I want you to stay at my house. She said, my husband is sick, and we got a home in the country, and I'm fixing to leave this house, a house. It was an hotel particulier, we call it. It was huge. It took a block, this hotel. It was closed. It was a sheet covered all over, but she didn't have a concierge, but she wanted me to stay. She said, I will bring you some food. I'm not going to pay you. She said, I will bring you some food. And you get a roof over your head. She gave me the room of her son, because her son was prisoner of war. So she gave me the room. There was so many rooms, I don't know, but she gave me this room with a bathroom attached to it. It was gorgeous. And I stayed there till November, when the German came in. They came in November. They occupied all France then. They came in a few weeks after they came in, they had to cover this hotel. And they kicked me out. If I could see this German now, I would kick him back like he kicked me. But anyhow, he didn't know I was Jewish, but he didn't want no French here, He was all German. So, he made his headquarters in there, in the sun.
What happened to you next?
Then I went to Madame Pollack, and I told her, she would come during the day and stay in the jewelry store, but she did have some people taking care of it. She did have the jeweler, and she did have the sales lady. And she said, I tell you what, my oldest daughter lives by herself, and she's got a room, her boys' room. The boys was in Megève, in a school in Megève, and she was by herself. She was divorced, and her name was Odette Carcassonne. And she said, I talked to my daughter, and I want you, she gave me the address, and she said, I want you to go and see her, and she will take you in. I said, fine, you know. So I did, and sure enough. And things you forget and things you cannot forget. This big room where the boys were sharing, supposed to share. Everything was divided pink and blue. The little table, where the boys would sit. There was young boys, pink and blue. Why can't you remember things like that? There was 2 beds, one next to the other one, and the covers were pink and blue. So I got one bed, and I stayed with her. Oh, and I stayed with her for several months. And I would go, she was working for a dentist.
How old was she?
She probably was in her 40s.
How old were the boys?
The boys were, I don't know, 12, 13, I think. And she was divorced. And they were in Megève in school. I never seen those boys. I seen picture of the boys, but I never seen those boys. And she was living in an apartment, renting apartment, But it was a very, very nice apartment. And
what did you do during that time?
Nothing. I would roam the streets during the day,
Where was Madeleine?
Madeleine was in Marseille, but Madeleine got married. She married a boy from the Plateau who was there in Marseille. And his name was Jean Vigier. Well, his real name was Vengère, but they made it, rectified one letter.
Was she under a false name?
She was under, well, no. I don't think Madeleine was ever under a false name. I don't know. If she was, I don't know.
Okay.
Because we didn't see each other very much, but when we see each other, we would ignore each other. I was happy to know she was there, And then I was in a part of Marseille where it wasn't, like the main part of Marseille. And I wouldn't go downtown Marseille very often.
So you were staying with this woman.
I was staying with this woman, and I would go and pick her up at night. And I met this lady. She was working, the dentist. She was working with 2 dentists. And one was Madame Pandariez, and the other one, I don't remember her name. Jacqueline was her first name, but I don't remember. But Madame Pandariez, her husband, was a prisoner of war, and he was, I don't know if he was a major or commander, or he was high grade, officer. And he was in prisoner in Germany, and she hated the German as much as I was hating the German. And one day, one word to another one, we talked, and she said, would you like to help France? And I said, sure. What can I do? And she said, I'm going to introduce you to somebody, and he will tell you, It was very, very hush then, too. And I said, yes, it's okay. So she told me when to come, and when to meet him. And I did.
Where did you meet him?
I met him in her office,
What was his name?
I really don't remember his name. She introduced me to him. But then, I used to call him by his name, but I completely forgot. And I still can see him, a tall, slender man. But even that, he wouldn't give me his real name, because it was very dangerous. Because if they caught me and they told me, who was your leader? Well, I told him the false name, I didn't know where he lived or anything, But so what he told me, he said, your job would be when we get... he was listening to the radio, and he said, we will let you know when to pick up messages and to take it so-and-so, and when we get some ammunition, you're going to take it so-and-so in a suitcase, And I said, fine, I'll do it. And I stayed with Madame Odette and done that.
When was that?
In 1942, in December of 42.
What was your first mission?
My first mission was it was a message I was supposed to take to a group, you know, of young men. And the name of this guy I was supposed to meet, oh my, it's been so many years. And it was such a short time, you know. I just forget. It's when I arrived in Agen, and then it started. I knew Commandant Francois, and I knew who I did have to do with, you know.
When was that?
That was in 1940, early 44.
Okay, so tell me, let's back up and go back to when you first joined up with this group and your first mission.
Well, they called me and they told me to come and see him, you know, to come to see this man. And I said, okay. And he said, I want you to go to Rumul, which is in the, get me a bicycle. He said, you're going to ride a bicycle, which it was in the woods somewhere outside of Marseille. And he said, ride your bicycle and just don't take just take your identification paper because you always got to have it. Don't take a purse or anything. Here's the message you put in your pocket. You know, this. And it was I think it was to blow up a train who was coming with German soldiers, you know, to be blown up, you know. And then I went and I knew who to get in touch with. And I got in touch with this person and I gave him the message. It was in coded, you know. I gave him the message and I come back to Madame Odette. But then Madame Odette did have to leave her apartment.
Where did you go?
So the lady who took over this apartment, she told me, Madame Odette said, well, you can come and live with me, you know, in the other apartment. I said, no. It was their friend and I wanted to be close. So she told me, she said, this landlady who owned the apartment, she said, we talked one day, and I told her, I said, she was saying Madame Odette got to leave, and we're exchanging apartment. She's taking my apartment, and I'm taking hers, you know. And I said, but I don't want to go with her, you know.
Why?
And she said, because I didn't want to put her in danger. What if I was caught, you know? I didn't want to. I don't want her to get caught too because I was living with her.
Why did you want to do this?
Because she was nice enough to take me in.
But why did you get involved with the resistance? Why did you endanger?
Because I wanted to do something. Maybe I would be able to kill some Germans. It's what I felt in my heart. I wanted to kill. I hated them.
Were you aware of the risks involved?
Sure, I didn't care. My mother and father, I knew I wouldn't see them. For some reason or another, I knew. My father was too old. What are they going to do with an old man? And you know, you heard things going on. And I said, I don't care. I don't have anybody. You know, right now my sister Madeleine and I wouldn't get along. So I said, heck, I'm by myself. They'll cut me. They'll send me to, or they'll kill me right there on the place. Or I didn't care. I was by myself. And and I was 20 years old. I knew it was danger. They told me there would be danger, you know. But I started to take my chance. Then this lady, and I don't know her name either, she told me, I'm gonna talk to my daughter and see what she can do for you. And she gave me the name and her address, and now I can see her picture again because I kept her picture for so long. And then, you know, once you're married, you throw them away. And she was a beautiful lady, and she was dancing in the opera or singing in the opera. She was a beautiful lady. And she did have quite a few friends, man friends, which one was a director of the movie. I got these books and I forgot. Oh, if I was only at home. I just got so much, you know, and at my age, you forget a lot now.
How did she help you?
She gave me a job with one of her friends. She asked of one of her friends if I can get a job, and he's a what you call it? It's a warehouse, as in like in the office, to work in the office. And this warehouse was with the mineral water from France, the Vichy, the Vitel, the Perrier, and there was distributed to different cafe and different organizations, schools and stuff, that would take the water. And I was supposed to make the what you call it? Well, they would call, and tell you how many bottles, how many cases they wanted, and I was supposed to do that. And then I told her, I said, I don't have any money. And she said, where are you going to live? And she said, I told her, I said, I don't know. She said, well, you cannot live with me. She said, but I know a Catholic home. It's really not a Catholic home. She said, it is like the YMCA here in America, She said, but it is directed by nuns. They're not in habits, they don't wear their habits, but they're nuns. And I said, she said, okay. I told her, I said, okay, I didn't mind. And she said, I will pay you for your first months of, tuition. You did have to pay for your upkeep, you eat there, and you did have a room, you sleep there, and it's, you did have to pay. So she said, I will pay for the first months, and then after you work, then you can pay it. It wasn't very much, but she put me in this home. And
were there other Jews there?
Huh?
Were there other Jews there?
I was getting to it. I came in, and this lady, the nun who was taking care of us, she introduced me to this big girls, a bunch. There was, I don't know how many tables, with a bunch of girls. And she said me, they all said hello, when I come in. And then I went to a table. There was 3 sisters in this table and another girl. And I shared the room with 2 other girls. And naturally, when we started eating, this girl, the oldest one of the sisters, said, where are you from? And I told her, Paris, And she said, oh, you see those girls over there? At this table over there, they're also from Paris. I said, well, good, So after we was through eating, and I tell you what, the first night, you stood up and you did have to pray.
What did you do?
I just opened my mouth, faked it. I didn't pray real loud, just, I don't know what I said. I worked my mouth, and boy, did I learn this prayer really fast. Because I was a Catholic, they didn't know me as a Jew. So after we were through eating, and the girls were going to go back to their room, every one of us worked, at different places. And mostly those girls were from everywhere around the country because the food was very rationed, and the parents didn't have enough food for them. And they were old enough. Everybody was working, with 20, 22, maybe. The youngest one must have been 18.
What kind of food did you get?
Oh, awful. The only things, when I'm coming to that, when we got to the at the end of the meal, I went into those 2 French girls, to the 2 girls, from Paris. And I said, oh, you're from Paris? And they said, yes. And I said, I'm from Paris also. And I said, what part of Paris do you come from? And they said, the 20th. No, the 20th or the 18th? The 18th.
What did that mean?
The 18th sector of Paris.
What did that mean to you, though, when they said that?
Well, I knew because my brother Henry was living on the same part of Paris. They're there. It didn't tell me nothing. But you look at them, and they looked at me, and we knew right quick. And I said, I come from Paris 4th, the 4th part of Paris, the 4th. And they said, what's your name? And I said, my name is Pierrette Nicodème, but you call me Nick. I said, I hated this name, Pierrette. And so one introduced me, and she said, Amoriette Dienon. Her name is Diamant. But they rectified her paper for Dienon. which Jenna is a French name. She took the D off at the end. It's Diamond, you know. Her name was Henriette Diamond. But mon nom, she said, my name is Henriette Jenna. And then and I said the other one, and she never changed her name. My name is Jacqueline Schwartz. You know. And boy, does she look, she did have the kinky Jewish hair, you know. And so I said, I'm Pierre Nicodème, you know. And said nothing. And we all go in our different room, you know. And then one of the girls, it was really funny. I'm telling you the story. When I come out at the door to go up in my room, she hit me. You know, she hit me. And I said, couldn't you say, excuse me? You know, I was saying she done it. She said, no, I wanted to hit you. I wanted to meet you. Just like this. And her name was Suzanne Luga, then, a Catholic girl. And, well, she told my sister Remy, well, I fell in love with her. You know, she's married, she's got children. No, look, she said, when I first saw her, for a reason or another, I wanted to be a friend of her, you know. And we become very, very good friends.
Did she ever find out you were Jewish?
Oh, yes, right quick. She's the only one who knew.
But
she knew it because...
What kind of risk were you taking, though, in revealing that?
With her, after I knew her well, you know, I knew what was going on, you know. And Henriette and Jacqueline knew right quick, you know. They looked at me and they knew right quick, you know. And then, I changed room. I went, one of the girls moved from their room. There was 4 beds, and I moved in with them, with Jacqueline and Henriette. And so talking one word to another one, you know. Okay. And I told them. But I never told them about my underground work.
I want to talk more about your underground work. What other kinds of things did you do, participate in, missions? Did you...
Just right now, I was just doing missions.
What other kinds of things did you have to do?
Well, I did have to carry ammunition sometime.
How?
Guns and a suitcase. In a suitcase and by train. You know, but then it was, you carry a suitcase and you go by train to another town, you know. They wasn't going to tell you, hey, what you got in your suitcase, you know.
Why not?
I was lucky. I never been bothered except one time, but that was in Agen.
Okay, tell me about a little bit more detail about some of these missions, maybe some of the times that you had to smuggle ammunition. Where did you pick it up from? Where did you take it to? And did you understand
what it was being used for?
Well, I picked it up by
this man. This man told me to meet him so-and-so, which it was in his part, or in his, I think it wasn't, I used to go to his house. But it really wasn't, it's like a warehouse, you know. He never took me to his house. But I would go there and I would pick up the suitcase. And he would tell me what it was in it, you know. And he said, be very careful, you know, because I was, you know. And I would go during the day. And only one time I went at night. But then I rode the bicycle. And I did have the things behind my things. They never did up. And I was stopped by the German, and I showed them my paper, which then I did have paper. Once I got to Pau, they made me an identification paper with my pictures and my name, you know, my parents' name and everything else. So I never, the only one time I got really scared, but that was later on when I went to Agen.
Were there any instructions in case you were caught as to what to do?
To keep your mouth shut. You don't know nothing. And I really, you know, I didn't know. What am I going to tell him? Monsieur so-and-so? You know, where is he? I don't know. I met him on the street. You know, you did have to lie some if you was caught, you know. You never would have said who was your contact or anything. This man is the only one, you know. And he didn't know I was Jewish. He didn't know, you know. So I couldn't say nothing because we didn't speak French with an accent. I'm speaking English with an accent, but we didn't speak French with an accent. I wasn't different than he was. So, but I did have to confine because when you was in this Catholic home, if you was going out after the curfew, because you did have to be in before 9 o'clock, you did have to put down where you're going and where you're going to be, where they can reach you. So this lady who was keeping us, she, the only son she did have, got killed during this war, and she hated the German, I guess, more as much as I do, or more. And one day, I did have to confine her because Madeleine, Jean got married, and Jean was taking, he was a forced labor in Germany. To save Madeleine and his family, he did have to go to Germany. And Madeleine left Marseille and go and live with his mother and his sister and brother-in-law. And then one day I got a letter from her and said, we're going to be in trouble here. The Germans are getting too close and they're asking too many questions. Can I come and stay with you? So I went down and I told Mademoiselle, she wasn't Mademoiselle, Agnès, I think was her name. I told her my sister is in trouble. Could she come and stay with us, And she said, it's full now. And also, they planted a German girl across the street in the big part of this school, the YMCA. That was divided in, one was across the other one. We didn't have to cross the street to go to church.
So what happened with Madeleine?
So Madeleine, I wrote to her and I told her, yes, you can come. Mademoiselle, whatever her name was, said you can come. I got another letter. She said, forget it. I'm okay. I'm not going to come.
How did your underground contacts, how did they reach you in the Catholic home?
Because they knew where I was staying. So they would come and ask. And also, I was working, and he knew where I was working. So he would come in and get an order for something. I don't know where he was working, and like that. And he said, tonight and so, please, or this evening when you get off, come on. We got messages, or we got ammunition to take to these plates, And it was mostly always the same plates I was going.
Where?
Rumul.
What were they doing?
In Rumul. Huh?
And what was
it's
going on? It's
where the boys were in, in the woods. They were in the woods, And in fact, the first time my commander said, now you know where we are. The guy, it wasn't my commander then, but the guy who was taking care of all the things, he said, you know where we are, and don't you ever say anything, because don't you put us in trouble. And I said, oh, don't worry about it, And I wouldn't have. They could have killed me. I wouldn't have done it. I hated them so much.
Where in the woods were they? I mean, how was were they set up in a camp, or how was it structured?
I never did see where there was. When I used to go there was walking around, They never took me to the place where they really did stay. Well, it was really hush-hush, a lot of things like that. I was doing my duty. But I felt like I was doing my duty. What was going on after that, I was working. I really didn't care. If I could help this way, it's all it was,
Okay, we're going to stop and change tapes.